Hey everyone, welcome to this Agents and APIs virtual meetup from Postman. I'm Danny. I'm part of the developer relations team here at Postman, and I'll be doing some hosting and facilitating for today's session. So we started with some trivia. Those questions were from our State of the API report, which is our annual survey drawing insights from thousands of developers and API professionals all over the world. We've got a QR code on screen now, and that will link you straight to the full report. So check it out. There's lots of great information in there. So what we're going to go through today is a 20-minute talk. Before I say that, so we've got a raffle. So if you stay to the end, we've got something so very special for a lucky viewer. We've got a raffle going on, which have the chance to win a great prize at the end. So the outline, the agenda for today's session will be two 20-minute talks from two of my favorite people at Postman. I totally wasn't bribed to say that. We've got one from Sterling, and we've got another one from Debo, join us from Nigeria. And after each talk, we're going to try and do some live Q&A, time permitting. Hopefully we'll get through some questions in the chats, but if we don't, we'll wait. We've got a section at the end, and we'll go through any questions that we have on the end of the sessions as well. And after that, we'll do a mini wrap up. So please, I encourage you, please, to ask questions about the topics, about the features, about anything Postman related. We'll try and get to every single question on the session itself. But if we don't get to the questions here, we'll push out a link to our Discord server where we endeavor to answer every single question that you have, because we want to answer everyone. So I'm not the star of the show. I want to bring up the first speaker, which is Sterling. Hi, mate.
Hey, Danny. Good to see you.
You too, mate. I want to ask a question before you start your talk.
Okay.
I go through many iterations of this, but what is your favorite Postman feature currently?
Currently, I mean, it's going to be flows, and mainly because I can build agentic workflows. I can ship them as MCPs. You're going to actually see the demo today, so that's one of my favorite, if not my favorite.
I didn't set you up for that question. I just wanted to know what your favorite. But yeah, great. It lines up with your talk, so that's cool. I'm going to hand it over to you to deliver your awesome talk, mate.
All right. Hey, everyone. Okay, so a few things just for myself is I've got the restream on my right side here. So if you look over here, I'm going to be seeing some questions that, as they come up. Feel free to please ask questions. I will try to answer them when I see them. But if you don't, I'm sure that, Danny or someone will put them up on the screen and force me to answer some questions. And really, all questions are available. I'm not gonna, you can ask me anything. It'll be a lot of fun. All right, but my name is Sterling. I am a developer advocate here at Postman, and this is going to be awesome. I'm really excited for this. On the right hand side, or on my left side here, this is the demo. So let's actually just dig right into it. So at Postman and the DevRel team, we challenged ourselves to build a end-to-end application using Postman as the back end, and then building a front-end application to go with it. I was tasked to build the front end. So this is the front-end app. You actually see it on the screen right now. And what it does, so I used agent mode so we use agent mode on the back end to provision an S3 bucket or provision AWS services. And so I have the front end where you'll see the cloud, the storage management, the server monitor, database overviews, and a network configuration. Over here, AWS is on the back end, which has our S3 buckets, our EC2 instances, our RDS databases, and networking. And then in the Postman is the middleman. So I've got my collections, I've got my mock server. I'm going to talk about those, flows, monitors, and we have tests and docs. And then all in all, what we're focusing on is, ensuring that our APIs are secure. We go mock first, and I'll tell you about that as I walk through the application. We do have Autodocs. So Autodocs, this is coming from agent mode. The new agent mode is just able to make all of our tests and docs specs ready to go. We have all of this is monitored through Postman monitors, and it's AI powered. And then lastly, there are 5 challenges that we were solving for. One is discovering when you are trying to find a product or trying to find something. You want to discover the APIs, and so agent mode inside of Postman, if you're not familiar with that, is now in beta. It is tied directly to our public API network, and so there's a great way for you to say, hey, I'm looking for this in natural language, and it will come out and spit something out for you. So that's pretty cool. We've got our contract, so that this is where our front end or back end are syncing together. We're working together, both through mock servers and ensuring that our APIs are ready to go. We have security, and then we have reliability, and we have documentation. Okay, so with that foundation set up, I do want to walk you through what we're seeing. So let me go back from the dashboard, and this is the mock front end. Now I'm only going to spend a couple minutes talking about the mock about the front end, but I want to show some pretty fun features that I built, and then I'll show you how we built it and how I built it and how I used the front end using the Postman's various features. So we have on the dashboard, it's just going to tell me how many servers I've got. So here are the servers that are coming through, agents and APIs. I've got a beta test and gamma gateway, and I've got my databases, customer DB, analytics DB. I've got storage, and I've got networking. Now, one of the big problems that front end and back end engineers, like when you're working on a developer team, I was a front end engineer for many years, and the thing that always bothered me that I struggled with was when me and my team were building a brand new feature, there was always a disconnect between the front end and the back end. And so we'd end up going in, we'd build we'd set an hour meeting, which heavens knows no one wants an hour meeting. But there was an hour-long meeting where we set our API contract, and typically that was, this was before Postman, so this was, we were doing it in Confluence, we were doing it in a Google Doc somewhere, and then the front end team, we would grab that contract and then we'd go and make stuff up on the front end. We'd hard code it, and then we'd put it in. But then when we went to integrate with the back end team was like, oh well, we had to change it because we had to change that contract because it wasn't working as well. And so then we'd end up taking that what we thought was a very quick integration, and now taking it and taking a long time to do. We'd have to go back and iterate on it. We have to go back and figure out what that contract was now officially, once the API was done. No longer do you have to do that with Postman's mock servers, because you can do everything inside of Postman. So here's Postman. I'm going to go to my collection here, and real quick, I'm going to give you a rundown of all of this. But going back here, so servers here, this is running on mock servers. Databases is running off of mock servers, and networking is running off of mock servers. The only thing that's actually running in prod right now is storage. Okay, I'll show you this real quick. This is fun because I'm using Postman flows. I mentioned it at the top of the hour. Danny said, "What's my favorite feature?" I'm using Postman flows to actually run all of the logic and do everything here, including the authentication. That's a problem when you're dealing with authentication. You want to keep things in a private, not you don't want to have things running through your. You don't want things running, API keys running from the front end. You don't want them, you don't want them in code. You can put them here inside of Postman. So in this case, I'm actually having some AI fun here. Let's create an S3 bucket and call it, let's see, today, Danny is the best host ever. All right. And it's going to ask me, do I want it in US East 1? If you remember that AWS outage a couple weeks ago, maybe not, but we'll just say yes for now. And I'm going to run. Now, this is calling the Postman flow. And And it's working. All right. So now if I go back to my buckets, we should see a bucket that says, oh no, it didn't work. Well, Danny's name, but it did work because it just came up with a random bucket. But I've got DevRel bucket test. We'll try that again. Create an S3 bucket called agents and APIs demo. And yes, we'll leave it in US East 1, and we're good with the name. Let's see what happens. Well, the demo gods are not in my favor today, but I will show you that it is all working here. So with Postman Flows, if you go into Postman Flows, so I've been running this. This is a flow action that is running through everything. And what it does, if you're not familiar with flows, flows is an infinite canvas that allows you to create API applications. And using Postman, in this case, what I'm doing for the S3 bucket is I have my request. So the trigger, it's giving me, I pass in a specific body. I can run that in through a flow module. In this case, this is just an API backend or API request to create an S3 bucket. And if I go to my flows, create and list S3 buckets, this is a flow module, and it's taking all the information here, and it just runs through. It's going to create the S3 bucket. It's going to list the S3 bucket and then pass it back out. And then from there, I just grab the record. I grab the record block, and it's going to put everything together, and I'm going to organize it. I'm going to pass that back out as the body. But something a lot of people don't know is that Flows has analytics connected to it. So if you're running your flow and you're wondering, well, I got an error, like I got an error here. I'm going to refresh the analytics here, and you'll be able to see the various API calls that I made using Postman Flows. So this is so much fun, and I love being able to see that I've got my S3 bucket here. It's showing that I have no failed runs. So I'm going to actually, now that I know that, I'm going to go back to my storage, and I'm going to see. Yeah, it doesn't look like it's working. That's okay. All right. The demo gods are not in my favor. It was working right before this, and it's not, but that's okay. So the other thing that I was telling, I said this to Danny at the top of the hour when he was asking me the question was, why do I like flows? What is my favorite? What is my favorite Postman feature? And I love flows. One of the other reasons why I love flows is when you deploy a flow, you also have the opportunity to deploy it as an MCP server. Now, I'm not wearing my my Run MCP shirt. I love MCP. But if you change this, if you add your scenarios and you change the scenario to tool definition, and then you add, and there's a whole lot of documentation. I don't have a lot of time to go over all of that. You'll have all of this on the screen. You can fill in the body, and then when you deploy this, it deploys as an MCP URL. And now I can actually just open this up in a new MCP client inside of Postman, and I'm going to disconnect from this one, and let's try that one more time. Where is it? Create S3 bucket. We'll connect to it. All right. So when you connect to it, I can do this. So let's go agents and APIs demo, and we'll go US East 1. And now I can run the MCP server and just make sure it's working. The block was not set correctly, so now I'm getting now I can see the errors that's coming. So that's okay. we're gonna push forward because you know what, the demo gods are not in my favor. Okay, so one of the things we did with this is we have our mock servers. Now, if you're not familiar with mock servers, um, you can, when you have your mock server, you deploy it. You can deploy it as an endpoint, and then whenever you ingest it on the front end, you have access to that. So anytime whatever collection you have as set as the mock server, you will now also see any changes you make into the saved results will come with that response. So if I go to databases, for instance, let's go to networking, list all networks, and you can see agents and APIs mock. If we come back over here, we should see networking, VPC1. Let's go back and just double check networking by resource. And if I go to my mock servers here, this is what's working, and you can see that we are hitting this. So networking. If I go back to my cloud infrastructure and let's go to servers, and I should have done these side by side, but now let's refresh the logs, and you'll notice that servers is pulling. So then, as a full stack team, so as a front end and a back end on the team, I can make sure that my back end is working. We can continue working on that API, and I can, as a front end team, continue working on the front end without very much disruption. I just want to be cognizant of time. So for those in the backstage helping me, give me a quick time check while I continue to demo. Okay, so let's have some more fun. If you haven't seen agent mode, I also wanted to give you an opportunity. So I've got my demo collections here. Actually, let me delete these. I did these earlier today. We'll delete. And I'm going to delete these. All right. So remember when I was talking about earlier about agent mode? In agent mode, so I have my demo collection. It is currently empty. And now this is the one where I want to ask agent mode. I'm going to ask agent mode to give me access or find me I want to provision AWS S3 buckets. So can you, so the other thing with agent mode, to be very clear, is see how this is connected. Actually, you know what? I'm going to change my settings because I don't know if everyone can see that. So I'll go to light mode here real quick. There we go. So I'm highlighted on the, let me zoom in as well. I'm getting a note that I should zoom in just a hair. So I have my cloud infra demo collection. And you'll notice whenever so if you look down here, if I ever change this, if I click something else, see how agent mode is changing? Well, I don't want agent mode to change here. I want to be working in this collection here. So I'm going to stay here. And can you find and add AWS S3 endpoints? I'm looking to provision all of the endpoints. Now I'm using natural language. And this is now agent mode is going out. Oh my gosh, look at that. Create bucket, list buckets, mock production. You want to talk about what, I mean, you're all watching this live. This is actually happening. Hands off keyboard, right? And I'm just seeing that on the screen. If someone wants to take me off of the screen, you can take my video off the screen so you can see what I wrote. There you go. Hands off keyboard. You all just saw that, right? Like now agent modes, all of your S3 bucket management endpoints have been added to your cloud infra demo collection. I now have access to creating buckets, listing buckets. Each request includes an authorization. So I'm going to play with this. Let's just see what happens. And it looks like it's hitting my mock server. So let's go to my mock servers and see. That one's deactivated. This one is the one that should be running. So I'm going to play with that. Yeah, it looks like it's the right. It looks like it is the right endpoint. Let's see, 1D8, 1D8E. So I come back here, create. Oh, that's 17D. Is that the right one? Nope, it's not the right one. Oh well, it looks like it came up with something. Let's just run it and see what happens. Oh, that's an inactive mock error. Oh, was it this old one? It might have been this old one. We're doing this live, folks. Like oh, it was. It's that old live one. Great. But agent mode understood that I'm in my workspace, and agent mode looked at my workspace, saw that there was a mock server, and it just inferred that I wanted to pull that. And so now it pulled from there's production. So S3 example, here's my mock. So it did all of these right away. I love this. So now let's ask it. I don't have any tests at all. So I'm going to go back at my collection level and I'm going to ask it. And the other thing, if something that's fun for me is I actually use talk to text on my computer. It's making it a whole lot easier for me to, instead of making mistakes. So I'm going to use talk to text right now, and that should just fill it in. All right. Hey, I need to add a full set of tests at the collection level and at the request level, and all documentation at the request level for this collection. All right. So let's see what happens now. I love how agent mode, it's planning, it makes a plan and it's generating. Now, right now, we can, I don't know how many of you have ever seen agent mode before. So I do want to just post this in here. You can set it to auto, but you can also go through Claude, any like Claude Sonnet 4.5, Haiku 4.5, or Gemini 5 or GPT 5. And I know the team is asking, is going to be adding more options in the future, as well as you can configure your API or configure MCP servers. All right, so we're up. Oh, so it looks like it failed to update the requests. This is still a beta feature, but it is updating tests. All requests have added scripts. Holy cow, look at that. It added all the scripts. Look at that. It's beautiful. I love this. So now with agent mode, so when we first provisioned our backend, going back to, I want to go back to our cloud infrastructure app and show you lastly the architecture. When we were building the backend for all of this, we did it using agent mode. So this is fully built through agent mode, and there's no other we didn't go through and find it. We let agent mode do it. That was part of our challenge, was to do all of this via agent mode. All right, so I'm going to be wrapping up, but we do see one question. And I'd love if someone could actually post that on the screen. Ian Douglas, who is a former Postman, if y'all didn't know, Ian, so good to see you, my friend. Any chance we can use local LLMs? So for agent mode, not yet. There is just like with Postbot. So we had this question with Postbot a long time ago when I was on the team who built Postbot. We have such an intricate set of system prompts that are on the end that are working internally, that we didn't open up to local LLMs. However, if you are running LLMs locally, like for instance through Olama, if you run them through Olama, you can actually use the Olama to serve that local LLM, and you can use that in Postman flows. So great question. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Danny, it is
I'm
back
back.
to you, my friend.
Hi. Thanks for the question, Ian. We miss you. It's been a while since you were at Postman. Thanks for that's an awesome question. Sterling, that was great. You showcased lots of things that I really love working with, especially mock servers. Mock servers are underrated feature of Postman, and I think people should be jumping all over them. And they're super easy to spin up and get going straight away, especially from a development point of view. It's a really cool feature. With agent mode, it is in beta. So what we're trying to do in the moment in the community, we have a thread open. So if you go to community.postman.com, I will post a message in the chat. We've got an open thread going at the moment where we're posting updates, tips, and different discussion points around agent mode for the next couple of months. So check that thread out, and you'll see me over there. Thanks very much, mate. I've got no questions for you. I think Ian's was the only question, but what we're going to do is we're going to move swiftly on to our next speaker, which is Debo. Coming live. There he is. Hiya, mate. How are you?
Yeah, hi Danny. How's it going?
Cool. Right, I'm going to load another question up because I asked them a question. What is your favorite feature? It's the same question, but I just want to ask someone else.
Well, it's hard to like pick a favorite feature because Postman has a lot of features that I really like. But I'll guess one that's really close to heart is a feature that I want to demo today. And primarily because it's something that I've always wanted Postman to have and something that the community has always requested for, which is offline mode and the local file system support. I've had a lot of fun playing around it. And just a teaser, one of the features that I'm really excited about is multi-protocol collections. Because collections with the collection runner sort of work really well with REST APIs, but they do not work well with other API protocols like GraphQL, gRPC, and the likes. So one thing that is coming, you heard it from me first, is multi-protocol.
Ruined a big reveal. Well done, mate. But yeah, that's great. I'm so excited for this feature as well, and I'm so glad that you're getting to demo what you're going to demo now. I'm going to hand it straight over to you because this is going to be awesome. So take it away, mate.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, so hi everyone. Like Danny said, I'm Badibor, but my name is always a mouthful for non-Nigerians to pronounce. So you could call me Dibor. My family and everyone calls me that. I'm a developer advocate at Postman, the same team as Sterling and Danny, really amazing people to work with. And today I'll be talking about the local file system support and offline mode in Postman. So let's just get straight into it. We know like version control is a very important component of software development workflows today. It's how developers collaborate, and quite frankly, it keeps engineering teams very sane. And developers often prefer to work with really well integrated tools. And one of the feedbacks that we've heard continuously from our developer community is they want to centrally manage all of the different Postman artifacts locally. And our current version control system is an integration with GitHub Auth API, which gives us consented access to very limited scopes on the repository. But that means you have to like manage Git locally within your code base in your terminal, and then you have to like manage Git for your collections, your API specifications in Postman. So we wanted to improve that experience drastically, which is why we're building this feature. If you could go to the next slide. So what I'm going to be showing today is how Postman or how the new features integrates into your existing development workflows. It just makes Postman a more natural part of development workflows that you already have existing without you having to think too much about it. The naming is not quite great. I mean, offline mode, local file system, it sounds, but anyways, let's assume I'm an engineering lead working on an API with my team, and we're well aware of everything that Postman has to offer. We use Postman to collaborate. We know that Postman enables us to collaborate across the entire API development lifecycle. But on top of that, there are like three things that are also very important to our development workflow. We want it to integrate with our existing development workflows without me having to think about it. We want to version control our collections the same way we version control our code without having to like use having to like git push, git commit, or push to our repository from different places. And we want our Postman collections to have a single source of truth where we can always reference it. So I'm going to be sharing my screen now. And how do we do this in Postman? So I'm in like my Postman interface here. And we know with Postman, everything starts with the workspace, which includes everything you need to be successful at what you're doing. So we start with like the same workflow where we're creating a workspace. But I see that there's this new option here. Previously, I could create a workspace from existing templates, but there's this new option here, which is from a local repository folder. And this is asking me to select a folder. And mind you, this folder itself has to be a Git repository for us to be able to connect the workspace to it. And if I click open, I can give this folder a name. For now, I'll keep this an internal workspace, and I'm going to create the workspace itself. So a couple of interesting things are happening. Because I connected this to a local Git repository on my system, I could show you this exact same code in Cruiser. This file system is now available within the Postman interface. And the first thing I want you to take note here is this .postman folder that has been added, which includes a config.json. And what this is just includes paths to where a different Postman artifact is residing within our local file system. Then there's this .postman folder, which includes collections, environments, globals, and a couple of other things. Right now, there's no collection here because I haven't created one. So if I'm working through my code base itself, you'd see that I have an open API folder because my team likes to do API first, and we use like the design first approach to write our spec before we like write our code. But for the sake of this demo, I only have like one open API file here that I want to work with. Also here, you see this local files beta icon here. You can toggle this on or off in your workspace setting. If you look at the footer here, there's a cloud view and there's a local view, which means I can now switch to local view and work completely offline without having my work synced to Postman Cloud. And you see that this is connected to my current Git branch, which is this feature branch that I have. I could switch to the main branch if I wanted to, just by clicking this. There are also options to push to cloud or pull from cloud, which I'll go into much detail later on. But what I want to do here is I want to use agent mode. Previously, I closed the tab already, but you saw that there was this tab that was asking agent mode to generate stuff from the current local file system. So what I want to do here is I want to use agent mode to generate a collection from the APIs I have in this local file system. Now, mind you, there are two things. This API exposes some endpoints, so I have all the routes here. Agent mode is going to look through the code base and read the code and see all the endpoints that I'm exposing, or maybe go through the open API definition. But for the sake of this demo, I'm going to ask it to generate a collection. I have a prompt that I already copied that I'm just pasting. So I'm just telling it to generate a collection from the APIs in the current local file system. And here I'm expressing some preferences that I want. I'm instructing agent mode that if an open API file exists, it should use that to generate the collection because I want my spec to be tightly coupled to my collection. And I'm telling it that if it does find an open API file, I would prefer if the collection that is generated is ordered with folders using the tags rather than the file paths. So now I can see that it is going through all the files that I have here. It's reading some of them, the admin.js, the account.js, and it's creating something. It's creating a file, hopefully a collection. So we'll give this a couple of minutes. It's asking me to approve this. I'll click create file. It's still perusing my code base itself. Now it's trying to add something to the config folder that I showed you earlier on. Great, it tells me it has generated a collection. Now this is the collection that agent mode generated, and it inferred this collection just by reading through the different routes that I'm exposing from my API coupled with the open API definition that I provided it. Even if I did not provide an open API definition, this should have still done a great job at creating this collection. Now the collection I created here, it followed the instruction. It is organized by folders, and the folders are based on how the different endpoints are tagged. If I go back to the local file system, I would see that this collection here is now referencing the parts where the collection actually lives. And this is not perfect yet. This is still a beta feature, so you might see some like mistakes like the number that's included on the right here, but that's okay. So like any other person would do, if we generate a collection, we want to test that collection, right? So let me start my server here and had a base URL for this. This is not HTTPS, this is localhost 3000, and send this request. Great. I'm getting an API key, and what this request just does, this is just a basic banking API that I built for demo purposes. This allows me to get an API key and I can create accounts, list accounts, just random fraud operations that I can do. So now that I have created an API key, I can go ahead and test the endpoints for creating an account. Let me save this and add this variable to my collection variable, so I don't have to update that each time. So now it's telling me that an invalid API key exists, and here I'm just going to write some very basic script. So the API key as a collection variable. And you can see that agent mode is automatically suggesting things for me as I'm typing. I did not have to like type all of that. I just have to like tap. And it's storing this specific API key as a collection variable, which means now I can go ahead and create an account. So for currency here, I'll set the right currency, which is an unknown. Then run this, and great, it's creating the accounts. But one of the things that my team likes to do very much is to write tests. So I want to like generate a test for some of the requests or the entire collection. So I can ask agent mode to generate a contract test for this request. I could also ask agent mode to generate a request for this entire collection, but that's going to take longer to do. So I'm only going to be generating tests for just one request, since that's going to be a much faster operation. And that's not what I'm trying to like show in this demo. Okay, let me approve this. Let me go back to that request. It hasn't actually added any contract test to the request. Let's try that again. I think I spelled contract wrong, but I expect it to still be able to do that. Let me close this tab and save changes. Oh, it actually generated the test. It just wasn't reflecting here. But yeah, these are like the tests it generated. I would check to confirm if all the tests are passing. I see that some of the tests are failing. Again, this is like a better feature. It has this fixed text option here. So let me ask you to fix some of this tests. Apply this edit. So while agent mode is generating, let me head to like the code base. One of the things that I mentioned is that my team likes to test a lot. And we have some integration and unit tests that we've written in this collection itself. To run that, I could simply do yarn test, and you'd see that some of the integration and unit tests are working. We also have our linter, which runs on yarn links. When I do yarn links, we see that the linter is working as well. But one of the things that we've taken a step to do is we want to ensure that developers on the team are actually testing things before they push, and they're actually verifying that all of their tests are passing. So we've gone ahead to implement a pre-commit hook using OSCI. And if you come here, you'd see like some of the pre-commit hook is running npm links, npm tests, just to ensure that things are passing before commits are actually made. So if a test was actually failing here, and I try to commit stuff, the pre-commit hook is going to fail, and the commit is not going to go through until I go and fix the tests that are failing. I'll apply this edit. So while this is generating, I also have taken this a step further. because of the local file system support, our collections now live within our code base, which means we can also link our collection the same way we are linking our code base. And I've done that using something called Spectral. Now think of Spectral as an ESLint for API specifications. It makes it easy for you to link your API specifications like the Open API specification. And in this case, I'm actually using it to link Postman collection. So I have the spectral.yaml file here because Spectral uses YAML to define its rules that defines like best practices for the collection, like providing a name, providing a test, providing example responses for your requests, which is the tests that are in this collection. There's also like the Spectral folder here, and this is just formatting the output that I'm getting from the Spectral linter, because Spectral uses JSON parts, so it sort of loses the name of each collection as it's running through. So I'm just using this lint with names to write some JavaScript code that formats the output of the Spectral lint and includes the names of each request and items in the collection. But if I wanted to like run, if I want to run this, if I go to my package.json, you'd see that I have this yarn links collection command. So I could do yarn links collections, and it's starting to like link my collections. And you can see that three things are there, like some of the tests are failing from the tests that are generated here. And just for demo purposes, I'm just going to be leaving just the first test and deleting the rest of the tests since agent mode is struggling to generate the correct test. But again, this is a beta feature and we've not put out access to this, but we'll be sharing a link in the comments if you want early access to this feature that I'm showing, which is a local file system support. We are eager to get feedback from people who are using this feature. So some of the tests are failing, which is perfect, right? I've changed a couple of things in this collection, in this repository. Initially, I did not have this collection here. Now there's this collection. So if I do git status, for example, you'd see that .postman folder and postman folder has actually changed, which means I can add a commit and watch that commit fail because things are actually failing. So I could say fit added a postman collection. Now the commit hook are running. I need to uncomment the OSCI command. So all the tests are all the tests are passing, and the commit actually went through, and that's because the spectral rules that were supposed to the pre-commit hooks that were supposed to link the collection itself was commented out initially. So for the pre-commit hook here, what I'm just doing here is I'm checking the git diff, and I'm checking if the collections has changed from the last time I staged something. So if the collection has been updated from the last time I staged something, I'm running my spectral rules. If it's failing, the commit doesn't go through. And here I'm doing the same for running tests for the collection. I'm looking at the collection folder. I'm checking if something has been updated. If something was updated, it loops through every single collection that I have in that folder, runs all the tests using the Postman CLI. And well, the Postman CLI is a way to run collections on the CLI, and runs all of those collections. And if all of those tests are passing, the commit goes through. If some of those tests are failing, the commit doesn't go through. So if I were to change something, if I were to save this and do git add and I do git commit again, I should see that this is failing because some of the tests are actually failing. Now you can see that some of the tests are. Let me save this. Demo got out of my stack today. Let me commit this again. It should be. Yeah, now you can see that the collection is actually running. I did save that earlier on, but the collection is actually. This is okay. Let me go back to agent mode to see if this has been generated. So I removed all of those tests. And then it goes package.json. Let me try to run the test for the collection itself. Yeah, and test API directly. So if I run test API, you can see that it's running the collection, but some of like the tests are failing for the collection. But for like the spectral rules, that I wrote, if let's say for example, one interesting use case for this that I really like, if I go to like my collection variables, for example, and I go to authorization, I'm storing this as an API key. and I'm pasting the API key. And I'm pasting the API key directly as opposed to using a collection variable. Ideally here, I should actually be using API key to store this, but I'm pasting the API key here directly, because a lot of times developers often make this mistake, and I run the linting test for the collections itself. You should see Spectral complain that I am actually exposing stuff. So if I try to go to OSCE again, check that everything looks okay. Everything does look okay. So if, for example, I make an update to my collection for any reason, or to my code base, and I try to commit stuff, and I'm just going to leave a random commit message here, commit, you should see that the commit doesn't go through because my Spectral rule is failing. And for the other things, going through because they're just warnings, they're just things like include a description, include an example, include the test. But for this particular one, because it is an error, the commit is not going through. And you can see that it's telling me that the authentication credentials are hard-coded and the authentication credentials shouldn't be hard-coded. So if I take this and I include it as an API key and I save, and I try and I git hard again and I try to commit, you should see that this is now passing. Now what that wasn't what I expected. This is saved as an API key. Let me go back to the collection variables. This is where this is actually stored. Going back to auth. Let's try this again. Let's try links collections. So the linker was actually running, and now, which was when I was exposing this. But anyways, that's okay. I'm going to proceed with the demo. But what I'm really trying to show here is that with the local file system support, Postman fits naturally into your existing development workflows. Here, I'm able to run the linter within, I'm able to run the linter for like the collection. So I'm able to enforce really good practices for my teams and how our collections should be structured, and ensuring that before they make a commit, they should be following those good practices, and they shouldn't be doing things like exposing an API key in the collection or coding API keys where they're not supposed to. I'm also able to run the collections itself. And it doesn't matter if I have 2 or 10 collections, all of the collections are going to run. So the last thing I really want to show here is how do I push this to GitHub? Yeah, I have a GitHub workflow. And what this just does is it runs all of the different tests I have and all of the different linters that I have. It also runs my Postman collections, most importantly, and runs the linter that I have with Spectral for like my Postman collections as well. And after that, it runs this Postman workspace push, which is a command that Postman CLI has that allows you to push all your local changes to the cloud. And one thing to note here is that this workflow is going to run when I make a pull request, but Postman workspace push itself is not going to run when I make a pull request. It's only going to run when the pull request is matched to the main branch. So I could check what branch I'm currently on. I'll push that current feature branch. I copied the wrong thing. Oh, I didn't copy this. So git push origin. Great. So this has been pushed to the current feature branch. I could go to pull request here. It's showing up here. Compare and create pull requests. And when I create this pull request, I should see that my workflow is going to start to run. And now this is the usual workflow that development teams are used to, right? When they create a pull request, either it's GitHub Actions, a Circle CI, or whatever it is they're using their CI/CD pipeline. They want to ensure that their tests are passing. They want to ensure that all their sessions they wrote are working the way it should. And now within the same workflow, we're able to link Postman collections and ensure that we're enforcing quality standards for our team. We're also able to run the Postman collections and ensure that all the assertions that we have in our collections are passing. And test grows from 1 test to 2 tests to 3 tests to 4 tests to 5 tests. So we're able to ensure that all of those things are passing. And here you can see some of the unit and integration tests are running. Also having like the same issue that I was having. You can see that it's running some of the collection tests. None of the tests are actually, some of the tests are actually failing, which is okay. Ideally, I would have loved for this to like pass to show you the push workflow. But if that had passed and this pull request had been merged, this same workflow is also going to run on the main branch. And then when that workflow itself succeeds, Postman workspace push is actually going to pass. So the way you fix failing tests is not by ignoring them. The way you fix failing tests is actually by finding and discovering why they are failing and actually fixing them. The only reasons why I'm not fixing the failing tests is because this is a live demo and the demo gods are not on my side today. So I could run Postman workspace push. So what this does is it takes the collection I have in my local file system and then pushes that collection to Postman Cloud. And before I run that, if I were to switch to Postman Cloud here to the cloud view, you'd see that there are no collections in the cloud view. But if I switch back to the local view, you see that some of those collections are indeed in the local view. So I could run Postman workspace push. And I'll just select yes. And it found one collection. If I had environment and other Postman artifacts that I wanted to push, that would come up as well. So now when I switch to Cloud View, you should see that the collection that I just pushed is now in Cloud. So we think this would actually change the way engineering teams collaborate in Postman, where you're essentially managing all of your Postman artifacts. We're essentially managing all of your Postman artifacts with Git, and each team is able to like pull that locally. And but yeah, would love to. I think I ran out of time, but would love to know how you would love to know how you use this feature. Please, we'll share a link to the early access form for you to fill, and let us know what your experience is. This is still in early access.
That's great, mate. Yeah, I am the time police. I've been sent in to stop you talking. Having worked with Debo for a number of years now, when he goes off and is involved in something he's really interested in, he gets in the zone, gets focused. And I love that we've done live demos here, which are super difficult. We could have made such an easy flow, such a really basic flow to go through different aspects of something, but we tried to make it hard and real life and realistic. So, you do get occasions where things don't work or CI breaks or we ignore tests completely, which I'm with Debo. Don't do that. Please fix them. So yeah, we're back on. So we're right at the end of the session now. Thank you for both talks, Sterling, Debo. It's been fantastic. So much information to take in from 2 different talks, lots of features, lots of things going on. So yeah, thank you very much. Do you have any parting words before we do the wrap up?
No, this is fantastic. My parting words are thanks everyone for joining. This has been fantastic. And Debo, I just watched yours and it was amazing.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Stalin. I think your demo was amazing as well. But please do join us on Discord. We're always happy to chat with you there. And thank you very much for joining. We'll be sharing a link to join the early access for offline mode on Discord. So please do well to fill the form and try to test out the feature. We want as much feedback as we can get for like that feature before we release it out in the wild. Like I said earlier, It's not perfect, but we want to make it perfect before we ship.
Cool. So as a last thing from me, again, thank you for joining. Thanks for the talks. It's been great, and hopefully we'll do this again with different talks and different features. So I mentioned at the start that there's a raffle that you can join. There's a QR code on the screen now that will link to our Discord, the Postman Discord, where lots of awesome conversations are happening around AI, around everything Postman. So as a closing part, we have a raffle, which is the chance to win $100 on a gift card. And it's just basically going to the channel and sharing your favorite takeaway from this session, from either Debo's session or Sterling's session, or my hosting. That could be a takeaway as well. But yeah, so join us over there. Pop your things down into the chat on the discourse channel, and we'll see you over there.